Hey, this is Susan from SmokeAGrillGirl.com, and what we're doing today is we're going to be smoking a 7-pound brisket. So what we have here is a 7-pound flat brisket, and there's two different varieties of briskets that you can get. You can get a whole packet, which consists of both the point and the flat, and you can read more in depth of these the whole brisket on my website at SmokeAGrillGirl.com. So what we did last night was we actually put the brisket, we cut some of the excess fat off, and then we put it in a jumbo bag and salted it with kosher salt and left it in the fridge overnight. So now what we're going to do is we're going to season it with this seasoning that we made, and you can I've put the link in the YouTube video with the recipe that you can get at my blog as well too. So let's go ahead and get started. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just season this really well. And then we're going to leave the seasoning on for 30 minutes before we put it on the grill. So the grill is going to be set at 250, and we figure it's probably going to take about maybe 5 to 6 hours to cook, but we're not exactly sure. We're going to cook it until it reaches an internal temperature of 165. And the pellets that we're using are the mesquite pellets. And you want to pat it down to ensure that the seasoning actually sticks to it. Once you've patted it down with seasoning and stuff, you want to go ahead and let it just sit until the top of the seasoning becomes wet and just becomes part of the meat, which takes about 30 minutes, and then we'll put it on the grill. Alright, so the meat, the beef brisket has been cooking for about a little less than an hour. I couldn't show you guys when I put it on because it was before 5 o'clock and it was still dark. But I wanted to give you guys a quick peek at the brisket on the grill. So, as I mentioned, it's been cooking for about a little less than an hour, and we're cooking it at 250, and we're trying to monitor the grill to make sure that it doesn't go above 250. And as it's going to take about give or take about 4 or 5 hours, maybe a little bit longer. The reason I say that is because when we cook a Boston butt about this size, it takes about 4 to 5 hours. The difference with the brisket is you have to cook it really slow because it will be tough if you don't cook it at a lower level or a lower temperature. So we're going to leave it on the grill until it reaches at least an internal temperature of at least 165. See you guys in a bit. Alright, so the brisket has been on the pellet grill for 5 hours, and we have tested it with the thermometer, and it now reads 165. So we're going to go ahead and take it off and wrap it in some butcher paper, and we'll see you inside. Now we're getting ready to wrap it in butcher paper, but I kind of wanted to show you guys what the brisket looks like. So as you can see, it's got a nice little bark starting to form on it. It's not as dark as some other barks, but for our first time cooking brisket, we're actually quite happy with it. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it in some butcher paper. And the reason that we're wrapping it in butcher paper and not aluminum foil is because we've read that butcher paper actually keeps the bark from disappearing. So when you wrap it in butcher paper, you want to make sure that it's nice and tight, and you just kind of want to swaddle the butcher paper onto the brisket and make sure it's tight. Okay, and then once it's wrapped, we'll just go ahead and take it back out to the grill and stick it on the grill as is. So we're going to go ahead and stick this back on the grill. and we're just going to stick it directly back on the grill with the butcher paper and let it close the lid and let it cook until it reaches an internal temperature of 203 to 205, and at that point we'll pull it off and we'll see you then. All right, so the temperature on the brisket is now at 202, 203. So we're going to go ahead and remove it from the heat, and then we're going to let it rest. So we're going to take it inside, and we're going to show you the resting process here shortly. So just let's go inside. Alright, so once we take it inside, or bring it inside, you want to go ahead and wrap this. And one thing you want to do when you take it off the grill is you want to flip it over, because the juice will actually fall off. I didn't realize it had a lot of juice. So once it's on the towel, we're just going to go ahead and wrap this. And the reason we're wrapping this is because it helps keep the brisket from cooling down too fast and helps retain the moisture. So once we wrap this, we're going to go ahead and bring it and put it in this cooler. And then we're just going to shut the lid, and we're going to leave it in there for at least an hour and a half to 2 hours to let it cool down without cooling it too fast. So we'll see you at the taste test. Alright, so the brisket has cooled for 2 hours, rested for 2 hours, so now we're going to go ahead and unwrap it and see what it looks like for the first time since we put the pink butcher paper on it. So you can see it's all moist and everything from where the juices came out. And it's going to have a lot of juice on it, so you want to make sure that you put it on something that's not going to make a huge mess. So I'm going to stick it on here. And there it is. Looks good. Nice and juicy, and it's just sitting in its juices, and it smells really good. So we're going to go ahead and put it on the cutting board, and we're going to cut it up. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and cut down the middle right here. So you want to use a sharp knife to be able to cut down the middle. Then you can kind of see how juicy it is and how good it is. So it actually turned out really good for our first brisket. So I'm going to go ahead and take a slice. Now, the one thing about the brisket is you want to make sure you're cutting against the grain, so you can see how that looks, and it's got a smoke ring on it as well too. So we're going to go ahead and take a bite. Very moist, soft, it's not dry at all. You can really taste the pepper and a really good smoke flavor as well too. It's not spicy at all. And you can find what we added to the brisket on my website at smokeagrillgirl.com. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video and you can see when I squeeze it, the juice. So it's really soft. You can see how soft it is. But you can see the juice more on this one right here. But I don't want to squeeze it because I don't want to get rid of the juice on it. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this video on my first time cooking the brisket. Like I said, it took about a total of 9 hours to cook from start to finish. And we used the mesquite pellets. And if you have any questions or want to learn more about it, be sure and visit my website at smokeagrillgirl.com. And I will talk to you later. Have a great one.